All right, we're live, episode 30 of the War Room. Dillon Christian, introduce us to the baddest minivan driver on the planet.
So I'm actually lucky enough. He's my dad,
All right.
Frank.
How's it going, everybody? How's it going?
You
We
guys are looking at our 2023 minivan king of Ohio. So, congratulations on that, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for putting on the show. It was a very, very fun time. Run a great outfit.
Now, you're not just saying that because you won, right?
No, I ran against all other people. I ran Smash It shows. They run a great outfit too. You run a great outfit just as well. You really good time. Sure enough. Can't wait for. Is it Derby time yet?
Almost, it almost never ends. I'm sure it never ends at your guys' household.
Oh no.
No, we live and breathe it around here. It's Derbian's a way of life. It kind of goes with owning a shop.
On that note, tell us what you do for a living.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to own York's Automotive, located in Sydney, Ohio, 113 South Walnut. Um, we do a little bit of everything there, bumper to bumper, motor swaps, transmission, collision and auto body, you name it, and we pretty much do it.
So if anyone's looking for any, car repair, you need brakes. I'm sure you do oil changes, all the whole 9 yards, right?
Whole 9 yards, full service. Ain't nothing we don't do to the car. We even wash it for if you need
I love it, man. I
it.
love it. Well, look, it's always good to support your own. So if anyone's in the area, Sydney, and you're going through need oil change or something, York Auto, right?
Stop down, yeah. York Automotive. We also give a warranty with all of our work. So, say for instance, if we change an alternator for you, we'll honor the warranty on the alternator for a year, 2 years. If that alternator messes up in a year, you bring it back down here to Frankie. We're going to change it out for free, labor and all.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. I know how hard it is to run a business, man, and I commend you guys for doing that. So I definitely wanted to make sure you got your time, to say something about your business.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So let's get into the nitty gritty, right? Let's get
Yeah.
into your win. Let's get into what led you to the win. You've been at the show a couple years now. What was it like to win?
It was a dream come true, every father and son want to get a chance to be on the track together, and you know on a big platform like that right there to be called the king, um, and knowing that the best drivers show up like Sean Johnson, Richard Repogle, John Fugate, Dusty Fout, the list goes on and on. Tony Phillips, Ryan Rui,
Dylan Furtrail.
Dylan Furtrail, Stan Johnson. There's a lot of big names that go into this sport, and there was a lot of drivers that come up there on that day, and we were proud enough to pull it off, a father and son combo. Uh, but it wasn't easy, running the shop from 6 o'clock in the morning until sometimes 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and then going to basketball games in between and running 24-hour roadside assistance and still building the vans. Because if you want to compete in this sport, it starts in the build. You got to put your time in. There's many a times that we wanted to go home and he's wanted to go home, and that just wasn't an option. To get the van together, we had to work long hours and late nights, and it paid off at the winning circle for sure.
Well, that makes it all worth it for sure, and the payoff at the end of the road. But you guys are just like anyone else, right? You got to put in the work. If you don't put in the work, it's not going to pay off. There's no chance, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%. It starts in the shop. Anybody can do it. It ain't nobody being better than nobody. That's what a lot of people think, and that's what's kind of hurting the sport yet today. Um, it's not no favoritism towards nobody or anything like that. Like I said again, it starts in the build and it starts at the shop. If you want to run against the best, you got to try to build the best that you can possibly build, because let's just face it, there's nothing easy anymore out there. Everybody's killers. I can sit here and name people that's local right here in Sydney that are some very, very great drivers. And some of them's like old Leadfoot Dusty Fout. He come up there and got second place up there at your show. Them boys are pretty good drivers. Like I said again, probably done mentioned them 1,000 times. Sean and Richard and Fugate, they're really great drivers as well. Ryan Rui, pretty good in a big car as well, pretty good fabricator. George Hart. There's a lot of people that that don't get the limelight they deserve, but their time's coming. They've won many, and it all starts out with the build.
Tell me a little bit about Dusty. Dusty, he's in the picture in Victory Lane behind us. I know he means a lot to you guys and your guys' circle. He got second, in our front wheel drive class, just that close, to 10 grand there. What's that? How's that relationship?
Well, it's like a brother from another mother, and you know how that works.
Yep, yep.
So we go way back. It started out when I very first bought the shop years ago, about 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. You know, uh, Very first show I ran was at Montgomery County in Sydney for Smash It, run the street stock class, and end up winning it. And then me and Dusty kind of met right around that time. Then I'll be doggone if we didn't go back the next year to Montgomery County and pull first, second, uh, and then go and run them right back in it again and pull them first and second. So me and Dusty's got a lot of history of winning a lot of first and seconds all over the place. He he'd even say it starts with the build. He's one of the ones that's just like the rest of us. He's going to put the time in at the shop to not shortchange the car. When he shows up on the track, it's going to perform, and it's because he spent the time in. Sometimes, he likes to slack a little bit. You got to tighten him up a little bit, a little sandbagger every now and then. I guess we all do it. But for the most part, he's a great driver, good fabricator. And I'm proud to have had the honor to run on a track with him and a bunch of boys that I've named here. Uh, like I say again, you can't count anybody out that's in Sydney or Urbana out, because there's just so many drivers that come from this area. The Grimeses, the Elsons. It just goes on for days. So the derbying around here is extreme, and everybody plays for keeps. And old Dusty Fout, he's one of them too.
Dusty
Oh yeah.
actually got my first win. He rode with me for my first ever win.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, in the youth class, he got my first ever win. He was riding with me.
That's awesome. And now he's rode. He's rode with a couple people, right?
He actually rode with me at the King of Ohio once.
Okay,
Yes.
I thought so.
Hmm.
Bell Fountain, Dusty. I was riding with I got a couple sons, and that's coming up. This is my oldest one, and so Dusty usually rides with Dillon there, and I'll take when you're only young boys out. And Dusty took him out to King, Ohio, got him a good place,
Got
and then
second.
Dusty went up there to Bell Fountain, up against some really stiff competition. My other godson, Richard Repogel, he was up there too. Um, and Dillon ended up getting first place with Dusty, and that's when I think he very first run into you, and I
Yep.
believe got the King Ohio T-shirt to
Yep.
be an invite, and it was a good time after that.
Yeah, Dusty's a great mentor. I look up to him a lot.
I tell you what, I want to give a shout out just to Dusty and your guys' whole crew, because talking about paying it forward and understanding like the bigger picture and all that, you guys are always sharing, always liking, always just appreciation, like just through the roof. And it means a lot, because if we could get 100, 200, 300, 500, 1,000 people just like you guys to do the things that you guys do for our sport, man, I'm telling you what, the sky is the limit. So thank you, both crews, Dusty and his crew, and you guys too.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
because
Sure do.
we're doing everything we can on this end for you guys. So
Yes, yes,
We can tell.
and I appreciate the payouts. We know that's another thing. I've run a lot of derbies at a lot of shows, and you know, some people not going to like it, some people are going to like it, but the payout sometimes kind of matters. And the reason why I say that is it's just all in the build, we don't want to show for no $500, you know what I mean? uh and you put out a pretty good payout, and man, that's just hard not to go and try to take a stab
Yeah,
at winning that money. uh that's a lot of money. And it's a nice beautiful trophy too, so you can't knock that, like I said. And even Smash It pays some good money. I've got over 30 wins with Smash It. 75 points championship series, I got third place in it. uh, my buddy Sean Johnson got first place. So hands down, man, you guys as promoters and stuff, you guys got your hands full, man. I mean,
it's
not only do you got a tough crowd you got to deal with, you got tough drivers you got to deal with, you got to worry about the track. Hats off to you guys.
yeah.
Good job. Keep up the good
well, I
work.
think a lot of times we say, "Hey, it's not fun being on this side," but it is fun being on this side because of the moments that you guys got to share in victory lane when you win. The hard work does pay off. It is fun to be on this side because you get to see those aspects of it. And look, hey, we're all in this together, man. The sooner
Yeah,
that we understand that, and it isn't a promoter versus driver thing. It's a
Correct.
let's all eat at the same table thing. Dude,
100%
man,
agree.
I'm telling you, everything
Yeah,
would just take
Yeah,
off.
I agree.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, if we can get all the promoters on the same page, and I think you guys are getting real close to it, and hopefully you guys can get together even more. And you guys are making, like I said again, just keep on doing what you're doing. I know
It's
that
working.
behind the scenes we don't know what's going on, and I know it's rough, but just keep on doing what you're doing, buddy.
It's working.
Yeah, I mean, people are talking, right? People are talking, that's for
Yeah.
sure. It sounds like you hear the noise too, so that's good.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want one of them trophies like that? I
It's one of
mean,
a
I mean
kind.
that is a one of a
One of a
kind
kind.
trophy. I mean, come on, man. I mean, geez, to be labeled the king. I mean, I guess that puts a big target on all of our backs as kings, but you know, uh, that is a beautiful trophy, and that's for me. That's like a life changing event to win something that big and be called the king. But even the king will fall. You will not always win. That's one thing. Everybody kind of expects to go out there and win, and I'm not gonna lie, I do too. Because I'm not gonna be no hypocrite. I do. I want to go out there and win.
I
Just
want to be the best. I want to always win. I'm
and
always going to try going out winning.
who doesn't want to win? That's the name of the sport. It's kill or be killed, I believe, and that's just how it's got to be. That's the bottom line. It's how we got to do things.
On,
Just
on that, do you think that there's been a lot of talk of maybe a competition problem in the Derby world? Do you guys feel like there might be a competition problem, or in your guys' world, what are you seeing?
in the van world and the car world, will see a lot of people. If I go back to my true roots, since we got a minute, I go back to my true roots. I'm a W body man myself. Uh, I've got over 30 wins in the W body, first place wins. Many years. It's been many years, about 5, 6 years since I've been in a W body, but I found my new sweet spot with these SUV and van class. I like it. It's a simple build, and it's come down to a driver's game. So a- and then in competition, that's going to be everywhere. And competition's good.
I love it.
Uh, Even in promoters, it's good. We just get everybody together and make competition great, not just good. Make it great.
Because that's what we want to see, right? Like the reason why we have an event like the King of Ohio is we want to see the baddest dudes on the planet in every single class get it on. And then we want to crown a king, that day. And it doesn't mean that you're the best ever. It doesn't mean you're going to be the greatest thing to ever walk the face of the earth. It means that weekend you will
Use the
forever
best.
be able to tell people you were the best.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a lot,
It
man. I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
that's the weight of the world to be called the king of Ohio and have an opportunity to show up. whether you run a street stock class, front wheel drive cars, whether it be van class, whether it be your mod cars, your kicker cars, all that good stuff. There's a class right there for everybody, and everybody has a chance to be king. Um, who's going to put their time in, to do it? There ain't no one being picking sides or anything like that right there. Everybody's treated fair equally on both sides, whether it be through Triple D or Smash It. So main thing is just it's bump all the classes back up to where they used to be when I was a kid. When I sit back and watch these things, it was Derby was awesome, and Derby can be even greater than what it is. But like you said, we gotta bump the front wheel drive class up. We gotta bump the van class, the kicker cars,
Can't just be one class.
you know, we play on high levels, and the best show up. Um, I believe if you keep doing what you're doing, we'll be okay.
You're heading in the right track for
You're
sure.
definitely heading in the right track. And the van, by putting on these classes, you are very much helping the sport, grow even more. And thank you for that. And, thank you for Smash It for the same thing. Um,
It's hard to be a successful promoter nowadays, really.
yes, yes, and it's hard to get a packed house because everybody wants to see hard hits. Everybody wants to be the hardest hitter. Um, you know, where does it start? It never stops, and it's always an ongoing thing when it comes to derbying.
Yeah, we're in a dilemma, right? We're almost between a rock and a hard place. We got to find that happy medium with drivers and understand that you need a show, right? You need to get fans in there. We need the drivers to help us sell events. Go out of their way to help us sell events, get people at the show,
Absolutely.
because nobody wants to perform in front of nobody.
Absolutely.
Everyone wants to have that big win in front of a crowd, right?
Exactly.
So we all got to do our part, and we got to find that happy medium with drivers for sure.
See, I love the packed house because if you win on that day, everybody knows there you're the champ.
Yep.
And another thing is playing on such a level like that. That's everything. Playing on such a level like that. Hands down the victory lane. You know that stuff right there is a lot of time, a lot of effort. That brings a lot of light to the sport that doesn't get seen, and we need them things. I believe whether it be a county fair or a big show, that we should have some kind of interaction there
For the
uh,
win.
for the win. Somebody like you or Timmy from Smash It, whether somebody or somebody somehow get in there and promote it by, telling them, hey, you've done a great job. And, by doing this, maybe you're going to help the sport out by driving such, an ace driver. Everybody wants to see, people go out there and make big hits. And that's what it's all about. But at the same time, you want to win too. But we got to find that
Medium.
spot that where everybody's hitting and trying to win and not sandbagging around so much. I think once we can do that, I think the sport will pick up so much. And I think you're onto it, and Smash It's onto it too. Just like we say again, we just a little bit more time. I think we'll get it.
That's why I love Derby. It's a tactic thing. If one guy messes up the least a little bit, you can advance on it so fast.
And we got to be able to sell that, right? Like we need to be able to, from a TV point of perspective, there's a lot of pay-per-view that happens, or there's fans, in the stands that necessarily haven't been to a derby that understand all that technique. But if we do a very good job of explaining our sport, like, hey, he passed this shot up to get a wheel shot, these, minivans are front wheel drive. All right. So that's really where you want to hit these cars and whatnot. I mean, it really can, it helps, people, it helps educate people on our sport for sure.
Yeah, just like what you said, a lot of people they understand derbying, but they don't. It's not always about if you can go out there and lay a tire over. It's about if you lay that tire over, what are you going to give up when you're laying that tire over?
Yep.
Little things behind the scenes that a lot of drivers don't want to give away. Um, but a lot of drivers don't mind to give away too, because I have seen people, put their time in to teach the youth. Um, they're, And that's where it starts out. It's telling some of them little secrets, I hate to say, that everybody knows. Even me with my my vans and my explorers and all the things we run. For my kids, of course, I try to teach them
A little
everything,
trick of the trade.
but I also teach their friends some things too, because all their friends kind of like the derby. Trying to spread the sport out some, make it fun again. If everybody don't know all the tricks of the trades, uh, whoever all does, has the odds of always winning. So just give them a little bit of something so
Give
they
him a
can be able to
chance.
compete,
Give him a
you know,
chance.
and little things like that right there, I think is going to tighten up the sport, and like I say again, people like Sean and I could go on for
Dusty, sorry,
days.
I had to put Dusty's comment on here because I missed it earlier, but he said, "Don't let him lie, Dylan. Tell him who showed you how to drive." So,
He did. He did get me my first win. He's a
yeah,
great mentor. I'll give him that.
Hey, that old sandbagger, I tell you what, he is a good driver though.
He's a
He
very good
is.
driver. He's a good driver. He taught me a lot, but my dad also taught me a lot. My dad's thing was, is if it got down to me and him, he'd kind of make me drive a little bit. So it kind of made me better. But Dusty was in the car telling me what things should look like.
It's a rough
Richard
sport out
says that.
there.
Yeah. Hey, why do you think our sport got stuck in the age of not celebrating the win? Like just kind of giving you your trophy and shuffling you off the track. Why
See,
why
that's
don't
one
we
thing I
actually
like that
take
you
more
do.
pride?
I like that you do the victory lane thing because I'll never get to recreate. I'll never lose that memory of me and my dad going through victory lane. Me and my dad got first and second in a lot of shows, but it's only one time we went through victory lane with you, and that's the ones that I'll remember forever.
Yeah.
Well, I think more promoters should do it. I don't know how the money works behind the scenes. I'm not that guy, but as a derby driver, and promoting, there's a lot of behind the scenes that they don't do, and I think Victory Lane was one of the best things that Derby got. Really, I think some other people ought to take a chip off the old block and see that, hey, fans like that and drivers like that, and anything to hype the show up, whether it's spending an extra $5 or another $20 on a custom made trophy like what you did, or the check just as well.
Or
All
or
them little
500.
touches.
I think those
Yeah.
trophies cost about 500 each.
Wow. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And they are beautiful trophies. Them little things like that right there makes everything.
It makes you want it more.
And if we can get some more people on, focusing on the hardware and the money like you have, I think the sport's going to come back around, because they was, when I was a kid, they was big money payouts, everywhere, and they was stacked fucking, stacked arenas all over the
You
place.
can you can let her fly on here. Don't worry about it.
All right.
There's no
Uh,
PG-13, but so I'm a firm believer that the if you take care of these drivers, right, and you show that you care, and you do not just tell them you care, not just say, hey, Frank, Dylan, I really want you back at the show, but you take care of them. You do genuine things. You do victory lane. You do the trophies. You do the celebrations. Your celebration didn't change from any celebration that we did. We had the same confetti, we had the same champagne, we had the same trophy, we had the same victory lane, same pictures. Nothing changes. And I'm a firm believer you take care of, you drivers, the drivers they'll pay it back.
Absolutely, we agree.
You're right. You're right. You're right. And you're, like I said, you're doing a great job of it. And I believe that there'll be a lot more vans and a lot more coming to the classes. The word's starting to get out. The word's starting to spread. And I believe Derby's going to start picking up again. I really do. It's
Hey,
coming.
on that note, I haven't said this to you. I said I hinted towards that I would ask you this, but I wanted your live reaction. Okay, we do a lot of social media. We do a lot of interactive stuff with different drivers. We put a lot of videos out there. There's a lot of time that goes into that. One of the things that you've kind of said to me is, hey man, I want some more van stuff out there. So how can I make sure that you guys are getting the same stage as everybody else? I want you guys to feel the same way throughout the entire year, not just that day, but throughout the year. As proud as you were that day, I wanted to go throughout the year. What can I do better for you guys?
Man, uh, you know, the rule thing, I'm just going to open up a can here, but
Okay.
one thing I would say is that I've run against mod vans, mod explorers with stock vans, and so on and so forth. Uh, the rules, is I guess is everything anywhere, and if we could get a little bit better on that,
Do you think
which
it's
it's
the
going to,
tech? Is it the tech side of it, or is it the way the rules are written?
I think it's the way the rules are written.
Okay.
I think it's the way the rules are written. Because it leaves a little bit of gray area for a couple of things. But besides that, I mean, everything else, only on that like motor swap things, of course, there again, I'm gonna open up a can. Uh, just on little things like that right there. Just from what I hear, people want to stay with their stock motors, not their factory appearance struts and this and that. And then there's little gaps in the rules, and it kind of lets them things flow through there. And some people would call it favoritism or cheating, even though it ain't. It ain't, because you guys ain't done that. I've ran for you guys. I ran for Timmy at Smash It. Fair both sides, but there's gray areas in both sides.
Okay.
I mean, they call it street stock van, so it depends
See,
on what you
that's
define
the
street
hardest
stock.
part with
That's
dealing
it.
with you guys.
Yeah, it depends on what you think street stock is. Is street
Yeah.
stock a bumper
So
and tires? Is street stock no bumper?
yeah, you guys, I'm telling derby drivers in general, right? When you're writing a set of rules, you want it to be street stock. You want the vans to be a street stock. You kind of have an image, but it doesn't matter what class it is, man. Every derby driver is trying to push it, and
Absolutely.
every year we have to do a better job of cleaning up those gray areas because we want to keep it fair. We
Fair.
want you to come back. It's in our best interest that we want you back, right? And we want to give you the stage that you deserve. So communicating those things to us is extremely important.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we don't know, how, because
Not in the
I'm not
future.
a minivan guy. I don't know I don't know minivans at all, right? Like, so you got to tell me, and then I can
Yeah.
talk to my guys and say, hey, look, there's some, we got to clean this up. Because last thing we want is anyone to walk away from a show saying, I don't know, that wasn't right in any class.
And you're right, and I've seen it happen both ways. There again, like I said, on both promoters' side, I've been at Smash It and seen some things that they've not let go, and which was fair for them not letting it go. And I've seen some things over here that didn't let go. A lot of
Might have
people,
lost. Oh, you back in? There we go.
yep,
We got
yep.
you.
Behind the scenes, a lot of people, their main gripe about the van classes is the built struts. They don't mind the bumper, they don't mind the front tires or the back tires. They ain't no sense in having a full cage in a van, you know what I mean? They're griping about things like that, which things like I agree with, because not everybody has the money to spend on a cage. But these bumpers these days that you can find in a junkyard are $50 to $200, and then you can find a good set of skidsters on here, or any kind of double tire. And with that bumper, that's a pretty good combination and a good build to be able to compete. That leaves it to a driver's game, you know what I mean? But now you go letting it where it can have a full cage and built struts and a mod front bumper, and then you know some people call it, that they don't like it. You know what I mean? But you're going to have that any way you go. So whether it be in the van class, the car class, the big cars, there's always going to be something that someone's going to gripe about. You're never going to be able to touch on everything.
Yeah, I think
When
it
you
goes back to
say,
what street stock. Is street stock bumper and tires? Is street stock just no bumper and only tires?
well, you guys got to stop progressing the sport. You drivers are the
Yeah,
ones
that's
doing it.
fair.
I mean, don't be pointing the finger at us. Every year, you guys are bringing new crazy shit every year.
You're right.
That's
You're
true.
right. Hey, it's and it ain't, and it's not cheating. It's competing, and you guys do a hell of a job to make it fair.
It is not easy. I'm telling you right now. Every
Well,
single
I,
you
I
guys,
agree.
we
Yeah.
talked about spending the long hours in the shop. You guys are coming up with more shit than we can deal with. I mean, it's like wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That
mean,
that's the thing that no one talks about when you have a stage like this and you don't really understand and appreciate it until you've done this. When you're saying actively, I want the best minivan guys, I want the best front wheel drive guys, I want the best, pro stock guys, I want everybody, I want the best of the best, right? What you're asking for is you better be careful what you're asking for, and you better be ready for it, because
Absolutely.
there's going to be 30 vans or 25 vans or whatever it is pushing the rules, and you're
Hmm.
gonna, this isn't a county fair anymore. This isn't
No,
guys
No.
rolling in with bumpers hanging off and this and that. I mean, they're burning the midnight oil to make sure these things are right.
man, I know that's right. And there again, like you said, staying up late nights and this and that. To be in the winning circle, a lot of people don't understand of what it really takes. It takes long hours. It really, really does. I can't explain it enough. Long hours testing, tuning. You know, like I said before, we pulled the van on the trailer and the motor let go on the van, and I ended up having to swap out a whole motor in the van just to go up there and compete on that stage. So, test and tune. If I could say anything to help out anybody, test and tune is everything. Which not everybody has a place they can do it at, but it's very important to us. There's one thing that for sure that we do is if ours shows up on the track, it's going to be 100%. It's not, it's going to have the best of the best, and it's not just because we have big sponsors or none of that. Hey, we work just like anybody else does. We're no better than nobody, and that's what's great about this sport. You don't got to have a lot of money. You just got to have a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, talk us through. You hit it on this a little bit. Walk us through how the van class has progressed in just the past couple years. When you guys are talking about switching motors, train. I mean, you guys are doing everything in these vans these days.
Yeah, so I remember back in the day when you'd show up at the van class and they'd only be about 5 or 6 of them. Uh, that been 2 years ago, but with being in 2 years, man, I tell you what,
It just
uh,
progressed. It's jumped.
it's 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 went through the roof. And like you said, as a builder and fabricator, we're stretching things for you promoters right to the limit. Um, but there's growth that's showing, because I remember back in the day there's only 5 or 6. You go now, I've even been to many a smash it shows this year and last year, and there was very few, and then next thing you know there's 30 of them show up. So it's picking up. But there yet again, the promoters are having troubles with the motor swaps. A lot of people would rather keep the V6s with the V6s. Some people don't like that. But I don't mind either way, whether it V8 or V6, or I don't care what it is. I ain't got no cup of tea. But I do like running my vans. If we could just get it back to, the bumper and tires and, maybe some aftermarket motor mounts, I think the sport would be great again.
See,
Because there yet again,
this right here is why you have inspectors, because you guys are way ahead of me. I mean, I work on the big car stuff. I can build a big car. I couldn't build a minivan probably. I mean, if I had to switch a motor, I mean, I probably couldn't. I'm sure I could figure it out, but it would take me a while.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot to these vans, especially a lot that goes electronically wise to it. But there yet again, I can't steal all the glory. A buddy of mine, Sean Johnson,
Great builder. Great
he's a
builder.
really great builder. Him and Stan Johnson out there, and man, when them guys put their minds together in vans right there,
There's
man, you
not
better
much they
look
can't.
out.
Yeah, there's not much they can't figure out.
The ECM, is it's ready to go. Them vans will burn down.
Literally.
The things that we're getting out of these vans, with let's just face it, everybody's going to a tuned ECM. It's no secret. And their own wiring harness. That's all fine and dandy, but if you don't know a couple other tricks of the trade with that tuned ECM and a wiring harness, you're still up the creek.
And that's so fun to hear, because it's just a game. Every class is just a game, to the set of rules, and you got to be, the best at playing the game, and then you got to be the best driver on the track that day. It's fun for me to hear this, because I'm not. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not in tune with that side of it as much as I'd like to. I ran a van. Sean built me a van. last year. I mean, I ran
Okay.
a van. He had it running right, man. It was a bad dude.
Yeah.
Driver was a little lackluster, but that's all
Well,
right.
see, I said just a minute ago, I said now it comes to a driver's game, didn't I?
Yeah, the driver was not up to the to
Yeah.
par that day. I can tell you that.
Them things are hard though, when you jump out of a mini car over the years and then jump in the SUV class and get one of them vans, that's 4,000, 4,500 pounds going across the track 30 mile an hour. I mean, my goodness. I remember watching another guy, Brandon Pingerton, up there at Washington Courthouse years ago driving a minivan. I was actually in the class with him. I was in there with a Ford Explorer. I got third that night. Old Dusty Sandbagger, he'll like this. He got first that night. My Ford Explorer caught on fire. So I had to settle for third up there at Smash It. But I tell you what, old Brandon Pingerton, son, he was putting them down left and right, stuffing them. He had a clean van. By the time he ended the night, the nose was sky high and the back bumper, well, it was in front of the back tires.
Dang.
So these things are really hard. People don't understand. I mean, you might want to think twice when you get in the cage of one of these vans or explorers because this ain't no mini car. If you've ever run a mod car or a mini mod or a little kicker car and it's got that thump and everybody talks about that pillar rattle, well, let me tell you, when your head rounds off that pillar on that van, it makes a good guitar sound too.
I tell you what, when I ran that van, I'm not gonna lie, I was totally out of my element. I just I don't know if it was just I haven't been in a car for like 8 months or what it was, but I mean, it just felt weird shifting on the. I had a column shifter, and I was not used to that at all. I wasn't used to the delay going, like going up and down through the gears, and right. It threw me for a loop, man. I'm telling you, I was it was a pretty poor performance.
It happens, it's everybody's cup of tea. I'm not no big car driver either. You know, uh, different strokes for different folks, but the Derby field is definitely open for everybody, whether it be a complete, gut and go class. It's out there. It's out there. Just we got to stay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people, there's always people complaining, right, about this, that. I mean, let's face it, man. Derbyan has never had more options to run a Derby car. If you are a Derby guy, you've never had more options than currently in the current state of Demolition Derby.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. There's something for everybody, for sure.
Everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, from you think about this. From youth, I mean, there wasn't any youth when, not really. When I was growing up, you just got you if you were 16, and I'm not that old. I'm not. It's not like I'm like freaking 80 years old or something. I mean, I'm not. I'm not real old. But I remember. I mean, you just got thrown into the wolves. Like it just there wasn't any youth. There wasn't mini cars that were. I mean, mini cars were a filler back in the day. Mini cars are taking over. I mean,
Yeah,
mini cars,
they
minivans,
are.
it's taking over.
They are. They are. It's really, really, like I said, becoming. It's everybody stepping their game up. Everybody is. Like I said, whether it be tuned ECMs or tires or bumpers, everybody is.
When's this coming?
Mm,
The floor shifters. Are you guys working on something like
So
that? Is that
it's
well,
different cup of tea. It's
we've tossed around a couple ideas, but there are some things that need to be adjusted on the vans. I guess we'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag, so everybody can go on and be on the same page. One, we need to allow aftermarket motor mounts. As a driver and for you promoters, there's certain things that all the drivers are talking about, and I just sit there and talked about some of them. I'm gonna touch up on a couple more of them, and this right here was going to help the sport out a lot. Everybody's griping about the motor mounts. Let's face it, if you want to see some hard hitting and you want to see a good live action, we got to make sure we can keep the motor in the vehicle. So I think that we ought to be able to touch up on our motor mount situation because that'll make the Derby be a lot better. I don't mind if we have built struts or not built struts. Let's just make it a plain, straight, 100% area. Built struts are allowed or no built struts, period. Meaning built struts, no factory high risers, And if I hit that, everybody knows a town and country has got weak struts on it. Let's just
Yeah.
face it. Everybody
Yeah.
knows that. Everybody knows a Honda van's got weak struts on them. You know what I mean? Let's just face it. I can tear apart all of them. A Ford Explorer, a Durango. Hey, I've won a lot of money in these vans. I've won a lot of money in these Explorers, but I've beat everything with them. Um, you got to let certain things, like you say, the drivers, you got to let some of the drivers' input come in. And I think that's the key thing to letting this van class pick up. And I think that's the key thing to the street stock class picking up is being able to let the motor mount slide. We done got by with the tires. We done got by with the bumper. We're done allowed 4 fix-it plates on a fresh van. I think that's more than fair. Um, and, you know, to answer that, if we could get touched up on them things right there, I think we're going to push to the whole nother level next year. But there again, like you said, it starts with the drivers and the promoters. A lot of people want to gripe at the show, but don't want to get on here and put their comment or stick their chest out. And that's the issue too. You got to be able to use your voice. And if anybody knows me, I ain't scared to use my voice. You know, that's just how I roll.
On that question, guys, we hit a home run with the front wheel drive team show last year. We've introduced it on a rear wheel drive stock team show. Is a minivan team show for bigger money? Is that something
I
that
think
Yeah.
that'd
the
be a
Derby
good,
World
yeah.
wants?
I'm down.
That'd be cool.
I'm
That'd be pretty
down.
sweet.
I'm down, and and that just hypes up the whole nother level of competition because they'll come. I mean, and everybody, everybody says, let's just face it, this is my son. A lot of people don't know it, but he's my son. We derby together. A lot of people don't think that I'll hit him. The heck I won't.
After I
I'll
figure it out.
I'll knock the brakes off of him, and he'll do the same. But now let's get down to the buddy situation. Here you go. Everybody says, I've even heard it come up to me. They say, well, hey, blah blah blah, you can't win without your son. Now I'm putting myself in the firing seat, and it is what it is. You're gonna have that in any sport, but allowing a team show van event will give everybody a chance. Bring your buddy and let's get it. You know what I mean? They won't be no more talking about, well, their teams and this and that.
So what are the teams? Is it 3-man teams? Is it 2-man team?
I
What
would
we've
say
done.
let's I would say let's do a 4-man
That wouldn't be
team.
bad.
Oh, should we?
4-man team. 3 to 4-man team. And the reason why I say that is 2 man's not bad, but we all know if we got 3 or 4 bad dudes out there and there's 4 different teams, man, look out.
So I could definitely see someday soon that happening. And a team show with the minivans. Look, they sell. People want to see minivans. You guys hit hard. You guys are
Oh
after
yeah.
it. I mean, you've got a lot of van there to use. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, Dusty's keeping you guys in line. He says 4 is way too many.
Well, you know me, Dusty. I'm gonna push it to the limit, man. Uh, uh, so we'll do 3. 3 would be great. I'm kind of with Dusty. I guess 4 would be a little too many because then, what if you got 4 great drivers that that everybody that's the best, and people's going to think that they might not be touched. Let me just go ahead and tell you, I've got beat by the rookie driver and I've beat the best driver. I've been on both ends. It comes down to the coin. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's your night, and sometimes it's not your night.
Well, we as Derby drivers, we got to accept that a little more than we do. We were talking, Dylan. You're playing basketball now. Sometimes the hardest, cutthroat, basically thing that you're going to go through in life is when you're a young kid going through sports because they tell you you're either a JV
I
player,
agree.
you're a freshman
Tell them about
player,
some
you're
what
a
you got.
varsity player. Like they tell you, right?
Every step. It's
Yeah.
it's fighting every step of the way. Like for me personally, I want to be the best person on the floor all the time. I always want, and as being in basketball, I want to guard the best person. I want the best person to guard me. I want to say I scored on the best team. Things like that.
It's very stiff competition, and he's got a lot. A lot of people think that as he's my son that he gets handed this. There's no more hand downs. Dad's got too much work on his plate. You know what I mean? And son knows how to weld. I taught my old other son, Dusty Fout. You still on there? I taught him how to weld too. Old dad did. And so I've taught him how to weld. So there's no excuses now. And both of them weld their own bumpers, uh, Dillon's he's pretty much building his own van now, but there was a time when he was young that he had basketball and he was trying to juggle basketball, practice, work, building a car. I can remember back in his youth days when I stuck him in a Honda and we went up there to the Turkey Derby and he got second place up there. Some of the sports you think he wants to be a derby driver and think they can do this or that until they get in a seat.
I think they'll come back here. We might have lost them for a second.
There we go.
There we go.
You
You
good
there?
now? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
All
I'm
right.
good.
So my son being one of them, up there at the Turkey Derby, he watched Dad derby for years and build cars out of the shop for years, and he's like, Dad, build me a car. So we build him a car and we go up there at Turkey Derby. He's like, Dad, let's do it. So we get in the car and man, we got lit up by a mod car that come from the bash or something, man. We brung a butter knife to a gunfight. And I tell
Long
you what,
story short, I didn't want a derby no
Yeah.
more.
yeah, right then and there, when that mod car hit us full track, it took the back bumper and put it right to the gas tank protector in one hit. And right
Oh,
then and there, he's like, Dad, I'm done. Well, like I said, Derby is not for everybody. There as a father and me being competitive, and there yet again, Derby's not for everybody. Like I told him, son, we spent too many hours on this shop. You remember you falling asleep in the Derby car and Dad building it? No, we're gonna finish this out. He finished it out and he got second place. And it started off from there, and now,
And
he's got 20 plus trophies, first place uh, and a handful of seconds. So as a father, and fabricator and passing the torch down, there yet again, we say we got to give our tricks to our family and friends so the sport can live on. uh he's the next generation, and then after him will be my son, and then my daughters, they're getting well known in a power wheel derby as it is already. So it's a very competitive sport and hard work pays off. He didn't want to build the van for nothing. He
I
hated
didn't.
it. Dusty even tell you,
He'd
Dusty
come in
was
there and I wouldn't be working on it.
Dusty be telling him, boy, get to work. Dusty walk in the shop and he'd tell him, get to work on that van. Finally he does it on his own now. So it pays off. He's
But
getting
it
there.
it took a little while because even after my first derby, I quit for like a year because I didn't thought I liked it. My best friend Richard, he kept on going and he was being successful and he was winning. He was getting firsts and seconds, and I wasn't derby because I didn't like it. Well, he kind of played a big part in me coming back. Him and my dad, Richard and my dad, they played a big part. They was like, try it one more time, give it one more shot, and after that, I was hooked. I couldn't get off. I couldn't quit. I couldn't stand not being out there. If one of them ran, I wanted to be out there with him. If Richard ran on a show I didn't go to, I wanted to be there with him. Or if my dad ran, I wanted to be there with him. I couldn't stop derbying.
Dylan, you were a part of our UNOH stuff, right? A couple years ago.
Yep.
Is that something that you're interested in? I really, really want to send some guys to UNOH to start that derby
I
program.
think that is a great idea. Me and Richard have actually talked about that because the past, I think, 2 years, me and him have either gotten second and first or second and third. Past 2 years at your show. And we
Yeah.
both thought that would be a great idea trying to do something like that. Because I think, honestly, I follow a lot of people on TikTok. There's a lot of kids my age that love Derby just as much or more than I do.
I think you guys you'll come back here.
But there's kids my age that would love an opportunity like that to get a chance to go do that.
Yeah, so that's cool. And I've been preaching this to a lot of youngsters. They're more than willing to start a derby program there. They have all the resources, man. And
Absolutely,
were you
absolutely.
guys able to tour it on that Saturday?
No, it wasn't. But I've heard so my good buddy Alex Beverly, he's a good derby driver too. He actually went to college there and he told me personally, he's a diesel mechanic. He said if you want to go to a college and be like a trades, he goes, UNOH is a place to go.
Yeah, yeah. And look, man, I'm telling you, the road to being a sponsored driver runs through them. If you're a youngster and you want an opportunity, because on our end, we're going to push this thing as close to you guys being professional athletes as the sport will allow us.
Right.
And I really think that you guys are going to get the first opportunity for that to happen. And
That would be
UNOH,
amazing.
I mean, dude, is a perfect fit
That would be
for
amazing,
anyone
and
doing it.
I agree 100%.
And another thing that I was thinking about, to help the sport out is a lot of guys gripe about, you know, is being able the camera quality of watching the video of afterwards. That kind of does affect because a lot of people like to go back and watch this or that. So on, and I've seen it both ways. At any show, all shows, I've seen good cameraing, bad cameraing. If that's something that we can touch up on just a hair every now and then, which is very hard to do, you can't have the camera at every spot at every time. There's just no way around it. But that was just something else that crossed my
I
mind
think
right
as you
quick.
get more and more money in the sport, you can start to capture more and more of that. You can put everything
Yeah.
costs
I
money, right?
agree.
Yeah.
So you
Yes. Oh
you got
yeah.
to get some money in the sport, and that outside influence, the UNOHs, the partners. We've got a couple other people. We've got Jegs to come in and look at the sport, and it's this coming year. We're going to announce a couple new guys coming into the sport, taking a look at our sport, which will be really cool. So
That's everything, and that's everything.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah, absolutely, man. So yeah,
I
it's
love watching the
definitely
videos.
you got to take a look at that, man. The UNOH piece is that's something you Frank, take them up there, go through a campus tour or something because you're what 17,
18.
18. Okay, so
Hmm.
you're a senior this year. You're
Yeah.
graduating in the spring.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it's right up your alley, man.
Yeah, and
That
for
would be
people to
amazing.
offer that, and let's just face it, not everybody wants to do it, but not everybody knows how to safely, properly build these, so on and so forth. And safety is everything. Everybody just thinks we just knock the windows out of this thing and send it. No, safety is more of everything. Safety's always got to be first. And there yet again, as a driver, I didn't like some of the safety things like putting the bar from the window or a piece of nine wire there. But at the end of the day,
You've
I,
really got to
I
understand
understand
everything.
why though after running it a couple times. So, you know, sometimes people ain't gonna like the rules
Safety wise.
safety wise, but they just gotta understand just like I do, it's just part of being safety.
Yeah, so we're one of dude. I don't know any show in the entire country that makes a mandatory rollover bar and door protection.
I like
I
that.
I
think
do too.
do we have a 4 point cage in your class, or is that
No,
allowed? What is that?
we just had the rollover bar
We
and that
just
was
had the
it.
rollover bar,
And
but
the
I
plate,
think
the
they
gold
was
plate.
something allowed with the cage. But there yet again, I didn't have enough time to do anything like that. But
Okay.
I really like the idea of the rollover bar. I don't mind the idea of the cage as long as it's not all the way back and keeping a van from structurally bending. Um,
Yeah.
Things like that is safety, and the main thing is the door plates. By you guys allowing the door plates, that is so much.
It actually it saved me once or twice. Just people bumping into my door, not even meaning to hit me, and the door plate taking it is everything.
Yeah, so that's hands down good job on the safety
Well,
of the
look,
rollover
we've
bar.
been fought very strong on that. Trust me, there's been a lot of people, which I totally get it. It's going to cost you a little bit more money to compete, but guys, I mean, when you stand back and look at it, the last thing we want you to do is come to our event and not be able to go to the shop on Monday,
Right.
because you're
That's
hurt.
true.
That's the absolute last thing we want to happen.
And they I'll be the first one to say it, I've used my driver's door, and so I didn't want to get my tire laid over.
I've
Uh,
pulled the door.
a lot of people have a trouble with that. And that's another thing that's bringing the sport down a little bit. Here yet again, you're going to catch me bouncing around, man. But another thing on the sport, man, is that you allow a driver's door safety. Uh, Now you can understand if it's a full track shot meant
You
a
can.
driver's door, but if it's a bump and it dents it in, 4 or 5 inches, okay, you've got a thick door skin. I don't believe you should be getting thrown out of that because all drivers use your door. I don't care who they are. We all do it. We'd rather give them the door and half the tire instead of all the tire. So that's something else that. there yet again, I'm bad. I've been thrown out of a couple shows this year for hitting, in the driver's door, half the tire and half the door. Now, did I agree with it? No, but it happened. But if we can keep things like that from happening, at some events, I think that that's going to bring the drivers up a little bit too, because a lot of people's been thrown out just like I have, and seen other drivers' doors actually get hit and be worser and not get thrown out, and you barely bump a driver's door, and since it was your second time bumping it, they come out there and break your stick.
Did you see anything like that at Camp Ohio? Or
No,
you
No,
just okay?
absolutely
no,
not. Oh
Because we
no,
man.
definitely,
no.
so just so everyone knows how we call our show, we try to take all the subjectiveness out of it. You guys have been through our drivers meetings. If you catch on fire, if you roll over, and we don't help you under any circumstance. And in my opinion, we make you put that driver's door plate on there for your protection, and it's a mandatory item. You will not get through if you do not have that on. You will not get sticked because of what you're saying. And the last thing I want to do is make a subjective decision at maybe I wasn't at a great angle or someone else wasn't at a great angle to see if you got the tire or you got the bumper. Because think about it, guys. I mean, if you hit the front driver's side tire, part of your bumper has to hit the door.
Yeah,
It has
Correct,
to.
absolutely,
It,
absolutely.
there's
Yes,
correct.
no way it physically can't. You're trying to square up, especially if you have a point on that bumper. If you
yes.
try to square that point up, which most people would, right? Um,
Everybody does, yes.
yeah, everybody would. You're going to come in contact with that door at that point. So it's such a subjective call. You know that guys are pulling it. If it's egregious, like if a guy's sitting there, and you guys have heard this in our drivers meeting. If somebody's sitting there and just gets KO'd in the driver's door, that's a totally different story.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yes,
But
100%
two
agree.
cars
yes,
moving,
100% agree.
no. I mean, we got
yeah.
we got protection. We're not going to take that away from somebody.
And that's awesome, man.
It
Like
is.
I said, and you know what? And hats off to you on that, because I've been thrown out of a couple shows, and like I said, I did hit half the driver's door and I did hit half the tire. But at the same time, the driver pulled that. So when do we, you know, there's a fine line between pulling the driver's door and get thrown out. Because let's face it, all of us put the shop time in, and to have it come down to a decision where it's you and another guy battling it out, and he pulls the driver's door and it's you and him, and you hit him in the driver's door, you get your stick broke, both of his tires are laid over. There's tactics in derby, and we done all know that, and it's a fine line right there. It's a fine line.
It is. It's a fine line, and the last thing we want to do is determine. You got the trophy in the background. I mean, we don't want to determine who gets that trophy based on that. So,
No, no, that's
so
right.
I got a question, Frank. Dillon pulls the driver's door. Are you even letting up at all? If it gets
Hell
down to
no, I
you
ain't letting
two,
up. Hell no, I ain't letting up.
yeah,
He knows what's gonna happen.
yeah,
Old Dad's gonna come down there and give him a real whooping now. But look, I tell you what, I learned a long time ago, letting it easy on him wasn't gonna push him to be a great driver. Uh, I push his ass to the fullest. He has lit me up many a times, and I have fell short to him many a times. Uh, he's put a whooping on old dad a couple times. I ain't gonna lie. He's becoming a great driver, but that's one thing. When it comes down to us getting down to it, we are not afraid to leave both of them junked on the track.
And that's another thing. Richard Rapogo is good for that too. He is not scared to hit any of us, and he's a great driver. So you got to be on your A game when it's as me being where I'm at. I'm trying to watch Richard. I'm trying to watch Dad, but they're both just such great drivers. It's you make one little mistake and they're gonna advance off of it right now.
So who has currently bragging rights in the shop? Is it Dad because he's got the King Trophy?
I'll give it to him. That's because
Yeah.
that's a you can't not two people can say they have the King Trophy.
Yeah, yeah, and I like there yet again. I got to thank a lot of people for helping me get to where I was at. There's a lot of good hillbillies, like I said. There's a lot of good people. Stan Johnson, Sean Johnson, Richard, old John Fugate, the legend himself. Uh, a lot of these guys pushed me to be good drivers out there on the track. They didn't hand anything to me. Uh, they
I think they're talking about the team show.
Yeah.
Or just getting back in vans. Yep.
it so like I said, there's a lot of good things that's up and coming, and hopefully we can get everybody back together, and if we can get these rules settled, with the vans and stuff, with all the promoters, and I think everything's going to be great again. The van class is going to start kicking off.
For sure. We had, what did we have? 13, 14, 7,
It was a
16.
pretty
So,
good turnout. It was a
yeah.
And I ain't taking nothing from the big cars or little cars, but hey, let's face it, like you said again, I'm all about my vans and stuff, and I love the fast pace, and them kicker cars, they're mean. They hit
Oh
hard. They're
yeah.
everything in between that you guys build. These vans are just a fast pace for me. I like the fast pace. And you only got one shot, because with no built struts, uh, on any van out there, it's fair game. And the kill or be killed instinct is just everything.
That's exactly what we preach in our drivers meeting. It's kill or be killed. That's the whole weekend. We want, King of Ohio, the feel that we are getting, obviously it takes time to build into that. But last year, I think we really started to get the feel of it. Is everybody was bringing their A game. Everybody's looking forward to that weekend. Everybody's, I mean, on point. It's there was tension in the room in the drivers meetings. There's tension, and there's tension pulling on the track. There should be, because you don't know what's going to happen, and it's really getting there, guys. It's
It
it's starting
is.
to become something.
It is. It is. It is. It's starting to become something, and like I said, I hear more and more great things. I hear a lot of people talking about the trophies, a lot of people talking about the track. That's not I don't mind it being muddy. I don't mind it being dry. It don't matter to me. We're going to get down either way it goes. I bring tires for that occasion. Then anybody else has got the same opportunity. So just keep on doing the good work, man, and hopefully we can get all these promoters together and help this grow.
Well, man, that seems to be a little bit taller task than it's a little bit easier to say than get done, I guess. But hey, look, the only thing we can do is keep beating the drum. Um, we are better together. There's no doubt about that. As drivers, as promoters, and if we
Yes,
can get a group of people moving one direction in this sport, man, I'm telling you right now, it's the sky is the limit, guys.
you're right. You're right. And
Guys like Dillon coming up, and I want your younger sons or son, right? You got one younger
I got
son,
two. I got
two.
two
Okay,
younger
I
ones.
want your
Yep.
younger sons to be able to say, "Hey, look, what do you want to be in school?" They ask you, "Hey, what do you want to be?" I want to be just like my brother. He's a professional derby driver, and that is the coolest thing that you could possibly do, because if you
That's
think
right.
about what that entails, is it takes away a lot of the struggles that all the families go through, because no one ever talks about this. Derbying does is it takes a lot of time away from the family. Okay,
Yeah.
it puts stress on the family because it's financially, it is not, it doesn't pay the bills, right? It certainly
Yeah.
doesn't pay the bills.
It. Yeah.
I slowly figured that out whenever I started building my own van, that
It.
it wasn't
If
cheap.
it's about money, you're not going to be that happy. But money does help. But man, uh,
Think
don't.
if we got to a time and place where somebody said, "Hey, look, I want to pay someone 20, $30,000 a year to build these vans." I mean, even if it's a side job or whatever, it just all your expenses are paid for you, and then you get to put a little money in your pocket for being successful. It's very possible. I mean, we got to organize the sport, but it's very possible.
It is. I can tell you it's possible because you're there yet again. My buddy Sean Johnson, me and him went on a streak of winning first and second. Man, like seven derbies in a row. Uh, and then me, him, and a couple other boys just went on some long rides, and even my son. Uh, in the last, I don't know, in the last 2 years, we've won a lot of derbies. In the van class, but that's what we're chasing after. Um, kind of getting out of the way from the cars, just more focused on the vans and the SUVs. But most definitely, the sport is going to come back around. We just got to hang in there, and it's the conversations like this right here is what's going to, I believe, bring it back and make the sport great again.
Well, I think you guys are the ones that do it. I mean, you guys sharing our, not just our stuff, but everybody's stuff. Wherever you're going to run, be proud of where you're running. You're
Hmm.
running there for a reason. Run places for a reason, right?
Oh yeah,
But share the stuff. Be proud of what you do.
yeah,
Help the promoters out, whether it's me or Smash It or somebody else.
yeah.
Help them out, man. Share their
Oh yeah,
shows. We're all in
yeah.
this together.
That's the main thing, like you just said, whether it be your show or Smash It, everybody kind of work together. And I like running your shows and I like running Timmy's shows. I share both your guys' stuff because you guys are both great promoters and both put on great shows. Matter of fact, probably the two best giants in the whole derby and industry, hands down, would be you two in the sport.
I don't know if we're quite there to Tim's level yet, but Tim's got a lot going on. I mean, he's got some very big shows and does a lot of county fairs. So I
He
appreciate
does.
that comment though.
Yep, yep, yeah, he does.
Richard says, "Is King of Indiana ever going to happen?" We tried King of Indiana once to see test the waters, and there just wasn't a lot of interest in King of Indiana. I doubt if we expand, we expand to Indiana. It's kind of widely been in this circle. It's kind of widely been thought of as the place where promoters go to die, and
You're you're about
that's
right.
serious. I mean, nobody can have a successful show in Indiana. It's
It's
just
hard.
It is.
It
it's
is. It's
tough,
hard.
man. If you
It's
look at,
hard.
I mean, you guys are familiar with Portland, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had our first show there at Prequel during COVID. Home run, killed it. Awesome show. A lot of great people behind the scenes doing a ton of stuff that we were working with there. That made a awesome show. But it was COVID, right? So it was a little bit, maybe exaggerated of how how the next shows were going to be. But like Metal Mayhem went there, didn't do so hot.
Mm-mm.
TJ's went there, didn't do so hot. I mean, I'm telling you, Indiana is a tough place.
I, you're right there. I think where you're at, man, you're right in the heart of it,
I
man.
agree.
I really do. Like I said, between Urbana and Bell Fountain in here, man,
There's so many
there's so
drivers.
many big drivers on all levels, whether it be the minivan class, whether it be the mini
Cars.
cars, whether it be the kicker cars, there you are in the heart of it. Right here is Derby country. If
Yeah.
you know that's hands down, you're in the heart of it. You and Timmy both are right in the heart of I've seen a lot of good shows and in my time, but you guys are in it. I mean, you really are. You guys are in it. Keep up the good work.
Well, guys, we appreciate that. We're a little bit over an hour. I appreciate your guys' time coming on here. um, you know, I'm gonna share the hell out of your guys's your reels and Victory Lane because they were absolutely special. You treated Victory Lane like a seasoned veteran, man.
Well, I thank you. It was awesome. I had a hell of a time, and the celebration and all that was awesome. It was definitely something that we won't forget. And the
Never.
deal, sun level, me getting first and him getting second, it don't get no better than that. And I thank you for
Well, that's no problem. Can we? Are we gonna see you next year in Victory Lane? One of you
what was
two?
that?
Are we gonna see you? One of you two in Victory Lane next year?
We're gonna try for it one more time. We're gonna bring some old goats up there this time. We're gonna come up there with some Ford Explorers, and as you know, there won't be no holding back. It'll be wide open as soon as the flag drops. And that's another thing I like about that. I forgot to say, that class right there being the one and done. A lot of people like that on that end, and just as well as a lot of people like how the rest of the things that you do. But in the van class to be one and done, no
I
matter
like the
how
one and
many,
done.
that is sweet. And I think they'll be expect a lot next year.
Yeah, I love the one and done.
Well, hey man, I think yeah, I think that is widely the thought on the one and dones. Just period. I think in any class, one and done is a home run. So
It lets you go high, you know what I mean? It lets you put the hammer down, you know what I mean? When you see a shot, you can actually really do it. And if it tweaks it a little bit, it tweaks it a little bit, you still got more to go. Versus if you win that heat and go into another one, and then Vans are pretty much a one and done fast show, but it's going to put on a hell of a show though.
yeah, no doubt. Well, guys, again, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you and the whole crew up at King of Ohio. That'd be June 14th, 15th, and 16th for anyone that hasn't been there in Lima, Ohio. So on
Sweet.
that UNOH stuff, I'm gonna get a hold of you, Dylan, on that. All right.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right,
Well,
guys.
thank you for having us,
We
buddy.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
See you, man.